The story revolves around a woman who, after escaping her abusive husband, learns of his apparent suicide, which comes as a relief to her. However, relief quickly turns to terror as unsettling events unfold, leading her to believe her husband is alive and invisibly stalking her. Is she losing her sanity as everyone believes, or could she be right? Let's all find out. Hello, welcome back to I Am Movies. Today we'll be looking into the 2020 movie titled The Invisible Man. But before we jump into the details, make sure to show us some love by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Now, let's get right into it. The movie begins with Cecilia, who is trapped in an abusive marriage with her husband Adrian, an optics expert with a narcissistic streak. Gaslit and controlled, Cecilia decides she's had enough. She hatches an escape plan with her sister Emily, knowing Adrian won't let her go without a fight. Having drugged Adrian with diazepam, Cecilia cautiously slips out of their shared bed, calling Adrian's name to ensure he is in a deep sleep before tiptoeing out of the room. Once outside their room, Cecilia strategically repositions a camera towards Adrian to keep an eye on him through her phone. She deactivates the security alarm, switches off all security cameras except the one directed at Adrian, and hurries to her closet with a duffel bag to pack essential items, including the diazepam. As she makes her exit, she accidentally kicks the dog bowl, fortunately without waking Adrian. Considering taking her dog Zeus, Cecilia tries to remove his electric collar. In the process, the dog accidentally triggers Adrian's car alarm. Cecilia sprints off, leaving the dog, and hops over the fence. While getting into her sister's car, she unknowingly drops the pills. Upon entering the car, Adrian runs up to the car and decks the window, screaming furiously at her to get out, and in the process he injures his hand. Emily drives off and Adrian picks up the pill that had fallen off Cecilia's bag. Cecilia finds refuge in the home of her close friend James and his daughter Sydney, where she has remained secluded and fearful of venturing outside since she arrived. One day, in a bid to help her overcome her fears, James implores her to go outside the front yard and get the mail, assuring her that Adrian is far away. She manages to get to the mailbox, but when she spots a man in a hoodie jogging down the street, she becomes paranoid and runs back into the house. One day, Emily shows up at the house, making Cecilia extremely anxious. Cecilia scolds her for breaching their agreement to not visit the house, for fear that Adrian might track her down. However, Emily reveals the shocking news that Adrian has committed suicide. The news leaves Cecilia with conflicting emotions, relief mixed with disbelief. Later, Cecilia and Emily meet with Tom, Adrian's brother, who reveals that she has inherited a substantial sum of money, and that a certain percentage will be paid to her in monthly installments for the next 5 years, on the condition that she never commits a criminal offense or is declared mentally unstable. Following the good news, Cecilia buys James a new ladder, replacing the old rickety one. She also offers to sponsor Sydney to her dream fashion school, leaving her overjoyed. Sydney thanks them for having and supporting her, and they end the night with celebration. Cecilia is happy and free for the first time in a long time, believing her troubles are over. Unbeknownst to her, her worst nightmare is about to unfold. Later that night, while she is by herself, Cecilia perceives some muffled sounds, giving her a strong feeling that there's another presence in the room. She moved cautiously around the house, each step laden with fear, hoping to find something, but she didn't see anything. While sleeping next to Sydney that night, the blanket is pulled off of them, followed by flashes of light. Cecilia awakens later and is startled by the mannequin in the room. She is confused to find the blanket on the floor. She drags the blanket and heads towards the bed, but she notices the other end is stuck like someone is standing on it. Fear grips her, and then she sees footprints on the blanket, causing her to scream and flip it off. Her reaction startles both Sydney and James. She narrates what she just experienced to James, who believes she's just being paranoid, as he can't see any other person in the room other than the three of them. The next day, Cecilia attends a job interview for an architectural position, only to discover that her work samples are missing from her portfolio. The interviewer pardons her oversight, but just then she passes out, collapsing on the floor. At the hospital, the cause of her fainting remains uncertain, prompting them to take her blood for tests. She is then discharged with the assurance that they will communicate the results to her. Later in the evening, she receives a phone call from the doctor, informing her that they found a high amount of diazepam in her blood system, which resulted in her fainting. Just then, she spots a bottle of diazepam resting on the sink with bloodstains, making her shudder. The next day, James accompanies Cecilia to meet up with Tom. Cecilia shows Tom the diazepam, explaining that she drugged Adrian with it the night she escaped and misplaced it. Somehow she found it in her bathroom. She recounts a time when Adrian told her that she could never leave him, and that wherever she goes he'll always be with her, but she won't be able to see him. She tells Tom that she believes Adrian isn't dead and that somehow he's found a way to be invisible and is taunting her. Believing Tom is privy to what's happening to her, she pleads with him to tell Adrian to stop tormenting her. But Tom assures her that Adrian is dead and that it is all in her head. Later, Cecilia hurries over to her sister's place to talk to her about her recent experience. Emily answers the door, inquiring what Cecilia wants from her after sending her a hateful email. Cecilia is taken aback but soon realizes that Adrian is responsible for sending the email to her sister, which she tries to explain. However, Emily thinks she's crazy and slams the door in her face. Back home, Cecilia discovers the email in her sent items, leading to an emotional breakdown. Sydney finds Cecilia sobbing on the floor and cheers her up. As they get off the floor, Adrian hits Sydney on the face and she cries, calling out to her dad, believing Cecilia hit her. James is furious about the alleged assault on his daughter and warns Cecilia to stay away from them. Despite Cecilia's attempts to explain that she didn't harm Sydney, James remains adamant. He angrily asks her to go to her sister's place. Fearing for their safety, James takes Sydney out of the house. After they leave, Cecilia challenges the invisible Adrian, inviting him to harm her instead. She grabs a knife, spills coffee powder on the floor, and sits, hoping it'll reveal his footprints if he approaches. As she sits there pondering over why Adrian is haunting her, a thought suddenly hits her, and she picks up the phone, dialing Adrian's number. She's surprised when she hears the phone vibrating on the ceiling. Cecilia climbs to the ceiling where she discovers Adrian's phone. When she opens it, she finds several photos of herself while she is asleep. She also finds a large kitchen knife belonging to James and her work sample that mysteriously disappeared from her portfolio. This discovery leaves her sad and unsettled, and just then a message comes into Adrian's phone that reads, "Surprise." Cecilia is now fully convinced that Adrian has assumed an invisible form and is tormenting her. After the message, she senses movement, so she traces it and pours a bucket of paint on the ladder, revealing a silhouette in a suit. Adrian quickly retreats, washing off the paint in the kitchen sink before Cecilia returns to the living room. Cecilia holds a knife ready for an attack, but Adrian attacks her. They engage in a struggle, but Cecilia manages to break free from his grasp and escape from the house. She books a ride and instructs the driver to take her to Adrian's house. Upon entering Adrian's house, Zeus runs up to her excitedly, and she pets him. Cecilia enters Adrian's laboratory, and while exploring, she accidentally presses a button, revealing a mannequin in an advanced technological suit that makes it invisible. Cecilia is emotional, having found out how Adrian made himself invisible to torment her. Cecilia swiftly pulls the suit off and leaves the laboratory upon hearing Zeus bark, indicating his presence. She hides in the closet, but Adrian finds her and drags her out forcefully. Fortunately, Zeus returns and intervenes, enabling her to escape. Eager to share her evidence, Cecilia calls her sister on her way back to town, pleading to meet, as she has something urgent to show her. Later that night, at the restaurant, Cecilia expresses gratitude to Emily for coming, apologizes, and assures her of her love and admiration for her. Cecilia then reveals to Emily that she discovered a suit with cameras in Adrian's lab, which is proof that he is stalking her. Suddenly, in a surprising event, Adrian slits Emily's throat, placing the knife in Cecilia's hand and framing her for the murder. Cecilia is arrested while she vehemently proclaims her innocence, insisting that Adrian committed the murder. Believing she's mentally unstable, they take her to a psychiatric hospital pending trial. The following day, Detective Reckley interviews Cecilia, accompanied by James. During the interview, she cryptically mentions having evidence that proves Adrian is alive, but refrains from divulging details for fear that he might be present. James expresses regret for abandoning her when she needed him the most. Later, in her cell that night, a nurse discloses a shocking revelation. Cecilia is a few weeks pregnant. This news comes as a surprise to her, having been on birth control to avoid having a child with Adrian, and thereby keeping him in her life forever. The following day, Tom visits Cecilia and feigns sympathy. He informs her that the funds willed to her from Adrian's trust, contingent on her avoiding criminal offenses or being confirmed as mentally unstable, will be suspended due to her current predicament. Disheartened, Cecilia accuses Tom of being no different from Adrian, labeling him as a softer version of him. Tom then presents her with a document, urging her to sign and relinquish her share of the trust. However, he proposes an alternative, keeping the baby and returning to Adrian, assuring her that they can make all her troubles disappear. Shockingly, Tom reveals that Adrian had discovered she was on birth control and substituted it with something else, leading her to believe she was on her birth control pills. He asserts that Adrian is done punishing her, especially now that she's pregnant with his child. Heartbroken over Adrian's ruthless actions, especially the murder of her sister, with Tom's assistance, Cecilia vents her anger by discarding the documents Tom presented. Seizing the opportunity to grab a pen from his briefcase, Tom urges her to consider his proposal before leaving, cryptically mentioning that they'll be keeping an eye on her. After the nightly check and lights out, Convinced that the invisible Adrian lurks in her room, Cecilia defiantly declares that he won't have either her or the baby. Using the pen she took from Tom, she feigns self-harm, and Adrian tries restraining her, falling for her gimmick. Cecilia forcefully stabs Adrian with the pen, causing his suit to glitch and his visibility to fluctuate. Amidst the confrontation, a security guard, alerted by the commotion, orders Cecilia back to bed, only to be overpowered and killed by the fluctuating silhouette. Cecilia escapes into the hallway, encountering a group of security guards who try to restrain her. Adrian kills the security guards that get in his way and escapes into the stormy night. As Adrian escapes, Cecilia chases after him and shoots at him. While tracking him down in the parking lot, Adrian attacks Cecilia and threatens to harm Sydney, putting Cecilia in a difficult situation. In a desperate move, Cecilia hijacks a car, racing to James's house while urgently calling him to warn him that Sydney's in danger, prompting him to rush home. Upon James's arrival, he witnesses an invisible attacker assaulting Sydney, his daughter. He attempts to intervene but is brutally beaten in front of a terrified Sydney. At that moment, Cecilia arrives and discharges a fire extinguisher on Adrian, exposing his silhouette. She then fires multiple shots at him, causing Adrian to succumb to injuries, and his form becomes fully visible. Cecilia unmasks him but is shocked and disappointed to find Tom behind the suit. However, in a surprising twist, a SWAT team finds Adrian tied and locked away inside his own house during a raid. The following day, James visits Cecilia at the psychiatric hospital. While they discuss, James mentions that Adrian is a victim of his brother, much like Cecilia. However, Cecilia remains convinced that Adrian orchestrated everything, asserting that he set Tom up. While James agrees with her, he advises Cecilia to keep this perspective to herself. He argues that maintaining his narrative is her best chance at pleading innocence, especially considering there were witnesses to the events at the hospital. Returning home after the crazy turn of events, Cecilia initiates contact with Adrian and agrees to have dinner with him. During the dinner, she makes a deal with Adrian, promising to let him be a part of the baby's life if he confesses to stalking and tormenting her. Meanwhile, Cecilia is wearing a listening device, while James is stationed outside listening to their conversation, hoping to gather evidence against Adrian. Despite Cecilia's tears and heartfelt plea, Adrian denies any involvement, blaming Tom. However, as he comforts her, Adrian unknowingly hints that he is the one stalking her. Seizing the moment, Cecilia excuses herself to go to the bathroom, where she puts on the invisible suit, returns, and slits Adrian's throat, strategically placing the knife in his hands. Adrian crumples to the floor, gasping. Cecilia re-enters the room, feigning shock, and frantically dials the police. Adrian, in his last breath, observes her flawless performance. However, Cecilia steps away from the camera while sobbing and talking to the police. Her countenance abruptly turns mean and cold. Seated on a chair, she utters surprise while locking eyes with Adrian in his final moments. Cecilia confidently exits Adrian's apartment with Zeus by her side carrying a bag. James encounters them as he enters, and Cecilia informs him that Adrian took his own life. As James glances into her bag, he notices the invisible suit. He gets the memo and lets her walk away. A triumphant smile appears on Cecilia's face, and this is where our story ends. If you'd like to see us recap any other movies or topics you have in mind, just drop a comment and let us know. And don't forget to hit the like button, share this recap, and subscribe to stay updated for the next one. Until next time.